In 1298, a Venetian merchant named Marco Polo sat in a Genoese prison cell, dictating an extraordinary story to his cellmate. He claimed to have spent 24 years traveling through Asia, serving at the court of Kublai Khan himself. But did he really go to China, or was this the greatest travel fiction ever written? The year was 1271, when young Marco Polo departed Venice with his father and uncle. They were merchants seeking trade routes to the east, following the dangerous Silk Road through lands few Europeans had ever seen. Their destination, the court of Kublai Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan and ruler of the vast Mongol Empire. According to Polo's account, they traveled for 3 years before reaching Chengdu, Kublai Khan's summer palace. The young Venetian claimed the great Khan took a liking to him, employing him as an envoy for 17 years. He described cities of unimaginable wealth, technologies unknown in Europe, and an empire stretching from Korea to Persia. Polo's book, known as The Travels of Marco Polo, or Description of the World, became a medieval bestseller. It described paper money, coal burning, postal systems, and cities with populations exceeding 1 million. For Europeans who believed Asia was populated by monsters, these revelations were revolutionary. But doubts emerged almost immediately. Contemporaries called him Marco of the Millions for his exaggerated stories. On his deathbed in 1324, a priest reportedly urged him to confess his lies. Polo's response, "I have not told half of what I saw." The skepticism grew over centuries. In 1995, British historian Frances Wood published Did Marco Polo Go to China?, arguing he never went beyond the Black Sea. She pointed to glaring omissions: no mention of the Great Wall, tea drinking, foot binding, or Chinese writing. The Great Wall argument is particularly compelling. While much of today's wall was built later, significant fortifications existed in Polo's time. How could someone travel through northern China for years and never mention this massive defensive structure? Tea culture was well established in 13th century China, yet Polo never mentions it. Foot binding, practiced by upper-class women, goes unmentioned. Chinese characters, so distinctive from European writing, receive no description. These omissions seem strange for such an observant traveler. Polo's descriptions of places sometimes match Persian or Arabic travel accounts circulating at the time. Did he simply compile second-hand information? Some scholars suggest he may have been in Constantinople, gathering stories from Silk Road merchants at the crossroads of East and West. His personal story contains oddities too. Polo claims to have governed Yangzhou for 3 years, yet no Chinese records mention a foreign official. He describes advising during the siege of Xiangyang, but historians place him elsewhere during that battle. But defenders of Polo's account have compelling evidence too. His detailed descriptions of Kublai Khan's court match Chinese records remarkably well. He correctly describes the Khan's hunting expeditions, court ceremonies, and even the use of white horses in rituals. Polo provides accurate details about paper currency that only someone who had used it would know. He describes how damaged notes could be exchanged for new ones at government offices, a specific bureaucratic detail unlikely to appear in second-hand accounts. His geographical knowledge is surprisingly precise. He correctly describes the route from Beijing to Burma, the layout of Hangzhou's canals, and the distance between major cities. These details would be difficult to fabricate without first-hand experience. Perhaps most convincing, Polo mentions the use of asbestos in Mongol court. He describes how they cleaned cloth by throwing it in fire, a phenomenon Europeans found miraculous. This matches Chinese records of asbestos use that wouldn't reach Europe for centuries. Chinese records from the Yuan Dynasty do mention foreign visitors, though not specifically Polo. The Yuan she records state that in 1277, a certain Bo Lo was part of a delegation. Could this be a Chinese rendering of Polo? The timing matches his claimed arrival. Recent archaeological discoveries add weight to Polo's account. In 2011, researchers found a Venetian coin in China dating to Polo's era, the first such discovery. While not definitive proof, it shows Venetian merchants did reach China during this period. Polo's omission of the Great Wall might be explained by its condition. During Mongol rule, border fortifications were neglected since the empire stretched beyond them. What remained might not have impressed someone from walled Italian cities. The tea and foot binding arguments have counterpoints too. Polo spent most time with Mongol rulers who preferred fermented mare's milk to tea. Foot binding was primarily a Han Chinese practice, less common among the Mongol elite he interacted with. Polo's book wasn't written by him directly. Dictated to Romance writer Rustichello de Pisa in prison, it likely included embellishments for entertainment. This might explain some exaggerations while preserving a core of truth. Some errors might stem from translation issues. Polo spoke Persian and Mongol, not Chinese. His descriptions come through multiple linguistic filters, from Chinese to Mongol to Persian to Italian. Details could easily become distorted in this process. Modern scholars increasingly accept that Polo reached China, though perhaps not everywhere he claimed. Historian Stephen Haw argues Polo likely served as a minor official in the Salt administration, explaining his detailed knowledge of this bureaucracy. Polo's account of the Mongol postal system, the Yam, is remarkably accurate. He describes relay stations every 25-30 miles, fresh horses, and even the use of Pesa tablets for official travel. This matches Chinese and Persian accounts precisely. His description of Hangzhou as having 12,000 bridges might seem exaggerated, but Venetian ambassador to China in 1345 reported similar numbers. Modern Hangzhou still has thousands of bridges, suggesting Polo's count wasn't pure fantasy. Polo provides the first European description of coal, calling it black stones that burn. He accurately notes its use in bathhouses, a detail confirmed by Chinese sources. This technological knowledge wouldn't reach Europe for centuries. The argument that Polo copied Persian sources has weaknesses too. He describes events after 1275 that don't appear in known Persian accounts. His information about Kublai Khan's later years seems too current for second-hand reports. Polo's will, discovered in Venetian archives, mentions goods from the East, including a golden Pesa tablet, exactly the kind of official pass he described. This physical evidence suggests he did hold some position in the Mongol administration. Chinese records show the Yuan Dynasty actively employed foreigners in administration. Persians, Arabs, and Europeans served as officials, translators, and technicians. Polo's claimed position fits this pattern of Mongol multicultural governance. The most balanced view might be that Polo reached China but exaggerated his importance. He likely traveled as a merchant, gathered stories from other travelers, and worked in minor official capacity, then embellished for his European audience. Polo's lasting impact is undeniable. His book inspired generations of explorers, including Christopher Columbus, who carried an annotated copy to the New World. True or exaggerated, it expanded Europe's geographical imagination. In China, Polo's legacy is complicated. While Westerners debate his authenticity, Chinese historians generally accept he came. The Make Baluo story is taught, though with less emphasis than in the West. New research continues to emerge. Recent linguistic analysis suggests Polo used some Persian transliterations of Chinese words that only someone in China would know. This technical evidence supports his presence. The debate ultimately reflects different historical methodologies. Western scholars often demand documentary proof, while understanding medieval travel accounts require accounting for oral traditions, memory flaws, and literary conventions. Perhaps we're asking the wrong question. Instead of "did he go?" we should ask, what does his account reveal? Polo's book, whether first-hand or compiled, provides invaluable insight into 13th century Eurasia and cultural exchange. The evidence suggests Marco Polo did reach China, though his account mixes personal experience with stories from others. He was neither the complete fraud skeptics claim nor the perfect witness supporters wish. He was a medieval traveler doing his best to describe an astonishing world. His greatest achievement may be symbolic, bridging East and West when few attempted the journey. In an age of division, his story reminds us that curiosity can connect civilizations. The truth, like the Silk Road itself, lies somewhere between the extremes. So did Marco Polo go to China? The preponderance of evidence says yes, though with caveats. His account remains one of history's great travelogues, a mixture of observation, hearsay, and wonder that changed how Europe saw the world.